Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
You have the slider.
Thank you, Philippe. And thank you for inviting me to here. For those that don't know, my name is Steve Sibley. I have product line management responsibility for all things power. And as Philippe was thinking through his new company in 1988, I was joining IBM as a developer for hire. Is that better? I was joining IBM as a developer on the AS400 in Rochester, Minnesota. So that's the start of my career. So it's great to be here to not only celebrate with Philippe and everyone here from a team standpoint, 30 years, but from my point, it's even more exciting on the journey we're about to embark on together, which is Merlin, right? Because, a little bit of echo, because that is the next generation of transformation for us as IBM, as we move forward with IBM I, which has been through many transformations, those that are obviously familiar from System 36 and beyond days to today, know how many times we have transformed this product to go forward with our customers, to help them continue to evolve, to help them continue to innovate, and to always have that confidence that we are going to be there with them, delivering the roadmap they need for that transformation to continue to deliver new capabilities and services to their customers. So I'm going to spend just about 20 minutes giving you a little bit of an update on IBM and the Power Platform overall. Then Steve Will, who is one of our newly minted distinguished engineers and obviously has been leading the IBM I platform from an architecture and strategy standpoint for a number of years now, will take you through more of what we have just introduced on IBM I as far as new and what is to come. So we'll see. Back one maybe. So just a little bit of a view of what I hear from clients every day. And I get the privilege now, and it's truly a privilege to be here in person with you, to be out and talking with customers frequently, to hear what's on their minds, what are they driving towards. And certainly as we have all been through this last few years of dramatic change as a culture overall, the acceleration in the importance of being able to transform and deliver new services is bigger than ever. Right, as Philippe was talking, I really enjoyed his discussion overall. This whole idea of to stay still really means, almost death for companies these days, right? If you aren't transforming, if you aren't delivering new services to your customers, then you are going to be left behind and someone else will deliver those services to the customer, right? And so this ability to do things more quickly, the ability to deliver those new services through new applications and IT capabilities is more important to businesses than ever. A few years ago, actually, just before the pandemic occurred, IBM did a survey of CIOs and CTOs and CEOs of what was the most important thing to their company. And IT, for the first time, was the number one thing in how they were moving their company forward. And so we became, collectively, IT organizations, your partners like ARCAD, like IBM, the most important part of how companies are delivering value to their customers in today's world, right? And so being able to deliver new services is more critical than ever. But as we've moved to digital, right, security and operational efficiency have become more important as well. Right, and so our ability to ensure that you are on the most secure platform, our ability to ensure that you can deliver your services quickly and efficiently as a platform are kind of the top things that we focus on overall. But so let me talk just real briefly about IBM as a whole, because we've gone through a fairly significant transformation in just the last few years, right? We purchased Red Hat, right, because we believe in application development and the future of application development being built around containers, right? And in particular, Red Hat and OpenShift, right? IBM has changed our whole focus from a marketing perspective to let's create together, right? And all of that, again, is focused on how do we work with our customers to deliver new services and capabilities and applications in their environments. That's interesting. Oops. with their new services and capabilities for their customers going forward. And so IBM has recentered ourselves around a technology focus, a platform focus, to develop and deliver new capabilities with you as customers and with our partners like ARCAD and like others going forward, driving that innovation. So if you look at power specifically and how do we fit into that world, right? So we have, and if you've seen some of our story over the last few years, it's pretty consistent around our focus in general and what my team is driving with our development team to deliver you from a capability standpoint. One is this area of cloud and cloud innovation, helping you modernize your infrastructure and take advantage of power wherever you need it, whether that's an on-premises cloud, whether that's a public cloud, or as the vast majority, in fact, it's 95% if you listen to most of the analysts, the future world is a hybrid cloud world where some applications and capabilities will be on-prem, some will be in a public cloud, and really bringing those together is the most important way to drive innovation and efficiency within your organization. But second is obviously this area of application modernization and new services, and being able to not rip and replace, right, which costs a fortune oftentimes, right? And I was talking with Victor earlier on Orange and where they were focused. I spend a lot of time with customers, and as Philippe mentioned earlier, a lot of those discussions are, we're now in this 7th year of our 2-year migration off of IBM and no closer than they were 7 years ago, right, in that journey, right? And that's why, from an IBM standpoint, our business is also extraordinarily stable, right? The number of customers that are on the platform, they may change where and how they're hosting the environment, right, to managed service providers, to the cloud, in different ways. But IBM as their core foundation of their applications and services they're delivering continues to be the foundation of their businesses. And that's why IBM continues to invest in IBM and the ability to continue to transform that environment going forward, and part of why we work closely with ARCAD both on modernization from an RPG standpoint to freeform RPG, but also, as you'll see and hear a lot more about from us, Merlin, right, and what we're driving from that view. And then finally, just ensuring that we're doing it on the most reliable, most secure, most scalable, and efficient platform in the industry, right? And obviously delivering a roadmap from a systems perspective where we will deliver you as customers new technology and capability from a core processor standpoint every 3 to 4 years. We're in the midst of the Power 10 rollout, and it's actually quite a remarkable processor and system technology that we're delivering. And in fact, some of the optimization that we have done, and Steve and the team have done with IBM on Power 10 itself is actually quite remarkable, right? The performance and capability that you'll see in Power 10 versus Power 9 for IBM specifically is actually far and above what we're seeing even on our other operating environments with AIX and Linux. Right, so the optimization work, what we've done with Samsung to deliver Power 10 as a technology is pretty significant in the industry overall. And while we are rolling out Power 10 to give you that confidence in the roadmap, right, I'm spending actually, at least a day a week with my team on Power 11, right, and the design point, because we have to, solidify that high-level design this year to be able to deliver that to you in 3 years as well. So the roadmap is strong from an IBM standpoint. Steve will talk more about kind of the IBM side of that roadmap as well, and our long view of where we're going to take it going forward, because we plan to be here for the next 30 years with IBM right, and the power technology, and perhaps maybe not celebrate with Philippe, which he'll have to find out who's planning his events in the future after his at least 10 years. But we hope to be here again with whoever is leading your companies many years from now as well. So just a real brief overview, right? So as I mentioned, IBM continues to be an extraordinarily strong business for IBM. Right, we're in hundreds of countries, 115 or so countries. We have tens of thousands of customers running IBM still from an IBM standpoint, and in fact, that number is probably an order of magnitude bigger because many of my customers now are managed service providers who are hosting 100 IBM I clients as well. Right. And so, as I mentioned, while many of our customers shift in how they're doing their IBM I environments to managed service providers, they continue to get that core technology for IBM I in their platform. And so that's why IBM continues to invest in these clients. It's probably the largest client set from IBM's view of any of our products, right? As far as number of customers running an IBM I technology or an IBM technology in the marketplace. And that's why we continue to invest and focus. And it's all different shapes and sizes, right? While IBM services the biggest companies in the world, and IBM I is the core foundation for many of those companies from a transaction standpoint, from a amount of data that they're storing in their environments, it spans down to very small companies as well. Right. In fact, the common conference, that we have, right, from a technology and education standpoint is actually a showcase of companies that, maybe 10 to 20 people in size that their primary server is an IBM I environment, right? And so it spans all different sizes as well as all different industries. Obviously, financial services, manufacturing in different geographies, retail and distribution, right? We span the gambit of industries as well from an IBM I standpoint. And from an IBM perspective, as I mentioned, why do we continue to invest? IBM I is actually continuing to grow from a business standpoint with IBM as well. Right. And so just as Philippe mentioned, the importance of financial stability, financial growth for not only companies, but also specific products within those companies. IBM I is one of the most stable, dependable, and growing sources of revenue for IBM as well. And so that's why we continue to invest in it and why you can continue to count on it for your platform going forward. So, as I mentioned, we are in the midst of rolling out Power 10, and like I said, it's been a remarkable platform. We introduced the high end of our systems last fall in September and November. The new 1080 platform is the most powerful single server in the industry. Right, that scales higher, delivers higher transaction and throughput and performance than any other platform in the industry. In fact, twice as much as the biggest Intel-based platform from a throughput and scale standpoint in that environment, right? And so, again, as Philippe mentioned, we service the biggest companies in the world, and therefore we build the biggest systems from a capability standpoint. But we're also excited about next week, we will announce the remainder of the Power 10 portfolio. Right, and so on July 12th, we'll announce our scale out, what we call scale out or entry systems, and our mid-range portfolio as well. And as I've mentioned, we've packed even more capability and performance in those systems than clearly ever before. In fact, our new mid-range 4-socket systems will scale, well above the rest of the industry. But even our, scale out systems are going to be pretty remarkable, packing twice as many processors. But more than that, as I mentioned, and with IBM I specifically, we're seeing 30, 40, 50% performance per core on Power 10 versus Power 9 in that footprint. So really, really excited about what we're delivering from a technology capability and how you can take advantage of that in your organizations as well. But so let me bring together kind of the two stories of IBM and what Philippe was talking about and the traditional environments, because what we see more and more customers recognizing the value around is how to not, rip and replace, but how to evolve what they are doing going forward. And the recognition that cost to move off of a platform and essentially stand still is significant compared to the ability to evolve, extend what you're doing from a platform perspective. And so it really is bringing together, right, our traditional environments and applications, building things like digital engagement hubs or extensions with microservices and containers into that environment. And obviously from IBM's perspective, our belief and certainly our commitment with our acquisition of Red Hat is we think that is going to be on containers because of the tremendous efficiency that Linux containers give you in an environment, and specifically around OpenShift. which is the leading platform for multi-cloud kind of development. One of the huge advantages that you get, obviously, with OpenShift versus doing container development out in one of the other public clouds or one of the other platforms is that portability kind of capability. Right? We now have nearly all of the Red Hat middleware running on Power Systems. I've seen clients move applications out of a public cloud running on that middleware to Power in one day. And be running in their Power-based environment seamlessly from a container mobility standpoint. And this is why we're investing with ARCAD around Merlin, right? Of how do I bring together these two worlds, right? The tremendous investment in RPG, right, that we have with our IBM customers, merging it with the world of open source and Git and the different engines out there, and developing a new ability, right, to develop your code, both, and marry that code from, a traditional perspective to the emerging open source world as well, right? And so we're very excited about this transformation. We think this is going to be the future of application development in where we're headed, and why we're so excited about teaming with ARCAD to develop Merlin and deliver it into the marketplace. So, as I mentioned, ARCAD's a key partner of ours. We're expanding our relationship by actually, developing the product, and as Philippe talked about, selling it from IBM's perspective moving forward. Oops. Obviously, Steve wants to come up quickly because that's his chart on this. So we're expanding our relationship with ARCAD and are continuing. The team met yesterday on the roadmap for Merlin and where we're going to head with new capabilities and functions. It's actually interesting. So I'm traditionally a hardware person. When I joined AS400, I was on the hardware side. So I'm really excited about Power 10 and the capabilities that it delivered, as you could probably tell. I went to Common in North America in New Orleans, and all of my discussions with customers were Merlin. Right, so I was like, but did you see this Power 10 processor? All the companies, because they recognize the importance of changing, right? I had 2 meetings with companies that have 50 to 100 RPG programmers who need to take that first step. One of them had started to move forward already with freeform RPG. One was still stuck in traditional RPG, right? A $30 billion mortgage company, right? That needs to transform their entire organization and is going to need both ARCAD's help from a freeform perspective, but their real future and what they needed was, how do you bring me into this open source world as well at the same time? Hence the whole discussion of Merlin and where we were going from that view. So really excited about the partnership, really excited about where we're headed, because it helps so many of our customers and organizations, and hopefully you transform your organizations and move forward into this new world. See if that moved forward. So I'm going to wrap up and hand it over to Steve now, because he's going to talk about a number of key things, right, as far as the new capabilities go.
All right. Forward and back.
Forward and back.
Super.
You may need both.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Thank you all. I know we're running a little bit late. I have been looking so forward to talking to this group that I'm not going to let you go quite yet. I have a few things that I really want to get across to you. When we announced IBM i7.5, we knew we were going to be announcing Merlin at the same time. We started this Merlin project officially about 22 months ago. Very soon thereafter, we decided we needed to partner with ARCAD to do what we wanted to do, and we'll talk a bit more about that. But of course, there was a whole other release that came along with it as well. And as Steve said, when we were at the Power Up conference in New Orleans, despite the fact that we've got a whole new release to talk about, almost all the people talked to me about Merlin as well. So it's an exciting time. Now, this is the fulfillment of the first part of a strategy that we started putting in place about 2 years ago. Approximately 2 years ago, we said, we have to do something in the IBM I space to get the people who are sitting doing nothing into an environment where they have to make a change, and the clear change they have to make is to modernize. And so 2 years ago, we said, not only are we going to start a product that will help clients move in that direction, we're going to start a vision, a mission to educate the marketplace on what they want to do. And so we created this idea of next-gen apps. We were tired of talking about just modernization. That word has been used so many times it was beginning to lose its impact. So what we wanted to do was to show our customer base, what should you be striving for? If you decide that it's too risky to do nothing, where should you be going? And what we said is, you want your applications to be next generation applications. And those next generation applications have 4 characteristics. First of all, they have to respond quickly to new business requirements, and that means you have to have DevOps. You cannot do traditional long-term waterfall and respond quickly. And the pandemic only helped to make people sure that that was the case, because so many businesses had to transform quickly to be able to do things differently. And those who were doing DevOps were much more able to do it. Those who weren't saw the need for it. So first thing, you've got to be able to do DevOps. Notice, I didn't say the first thing you have to do is get away from green screen. That is the thing people think of first when they do modernization. But from a business value point of view, we need people to move to DevOps. And if they're going to do that, then they need to encapsulate the things that are valuable in their existing code so that those things can be transformed into services that can be used in lots of different ways. And they have to realize they're not going to do it in just one language. RPG will remain the core language for data manipulation, for doing transactions. That, together with SQL, are the best languages on the platform. But that language can't do everything the best. If you want to produce services or mobile interfaces or graphs and pictures, there are other languages that do that well, so you have to be able to blend your application to use RPG for what it's good for, and other languages for what they're good for, and then blend them together. And if you're going to do that, some of those things, that new technology, can be on IBM I, but some of it is going to be in that hybrid cloud environment. And new next-gen IBM I application is going to recognize that some of the new value is going to have been produced in a cloud somewhere, and you're going to incorporate that. So for the last 2 years, we've been talking about moving clients in a next-gen apps approach, all the while realizing we were creating Merlin to help them go there. And so what we ended up creating then is something that would help clients keep on-prem, where on-prem just means within your control, okay, not in a public cloud. It doesn't mean you necessarily have ownership of the system. You could put this in a managed service environment, but this is your traditional code, what Jesse Gorzinski calls indigenous applications. They grew up on this platform, and they are likely to stay there forever because the value is there. But then you're going to be able to call services and provide services so that you can get value from things that are running in containers and Linux environments. And you can take pieces of what you have on IBM I, put them in a cloud, and have them produce services that can be used by other people. We have a very large healthcare client who transformed their way of dealing with insurance companies because they needed to, but they also turned those into services that they sold to other hospitals, okay, because they were really good at it, and those other hospitals needed them as well. So they are essentially providing IBM I in a cloud. As far as the other healthcare industry people know, it's a cloud somewhere doing this as a service. That's what we need our clients to think about. these next-gen apps, the things that have these characteristics, will allow you to work with things that are in the cloud and produce things for the cloud. And it will help you keep your indigenous applications modern, relevant, and important for the next generation and the next generation after that. So we decided we're going to create a product that will help that happen. And one of the key things, as Steve said, we in IBM are seeing is if you're going to create a new application, the application's probably going to be best adopted if it's a containerized application. Since we have the special relationship we have with Red Hat, we said we're going to create an application that's going to help clients move towards next-gen apps. So we're going to make a container-based application. This application we were going to do to help clients move forward towards next-gen apps. So the first thing we had to do was to create an application, or a set of them, that was going to help them move into a DevOps environment. And that's when we naturally looked around and said we could try to create this all ourselves, or we could try to get a product out relatively quickly. And we know the leader in the market for DevOps on IBM I, and that's ARCAD. And so that's when we engaged them and said, we're going to be doing this container-based set of wizards. We'd like you to provide the core competency technology from your business suite in that containerized environment. Okay, and so that's what we have at the beginning of this. Now, you can't just do DevOps, you have to do more than that. And so we said we have to have an integrated development environment that focuses on the huge amount of RPG that needs to be moved into this environment. So let's not just focus on getting them into DevOps, let's focus on getting them into modern RPG that can connect back to services. Services that are provided on IBM I, such as our database, and services that are out there in the world. And when you create your application on IBM I, written in any ILE language, you can create those things and make them services. So as far as your consumers are concerned, you're running this in a container somewhere. It doesn't matter to them that it's not actually in a container. It's doing a valuable service that they can get via a service call like they would a container-based application. So that was our idea. We were going to create this thing. But as soon as we came up with that idea, we said, we can do so much more with this than just this first release. And so we began planning for the future. Nevertheless, we said, well, we're going to create not just these three, but more wizards in the future. So Merlin. Merlin is a wizard of wizards, right? Merlin is the top wizard in all of legendary fiction. So he's the wizard of wizards. Those wizards are applications that are going to run in these OpenShift containers that will help guide modernization for IBM I developers. That's what it's about right now. This will allow you to leverage hybrid cloud and DevOps, but in order to complete that picture, we have to have a debugger, and we couldn't get it out when we released the first release. So it's coming. Tim assures me that probably in third quarter, certainly by the end of the year, we will have a debugger that fits into this IDE so that people can do development using this tool the way they would do development using any full industry strength IDE. Okay. Now, once we've done that, we've fulfilled our first vision, but we can imagine doing more than that. And for example, right now we began talking with ARCAD about which of their other tools that aren't currently included in this they might want to include as additions. We also think that there are things we can do around security, compliance, application catalogs, other things that will provide even more value so that customers will want to have an OpenShift environment that can help them not only do development, but all sorts of other things for the IBM I platform. This helps not only do DevOps and CI/CD, but helps us have a framework for a place where we can put these future applications. So we are in the middle of deciding what those next things are, and we haven't even sold the first one of these yet. Because as Steve says, we have to think far forward. I, too, am spending a great deal of my time on Power 11, and I have to spend time on what the next generation of Merlin is before we even get the first of you to use it. Though I'm sure the first people to use it are going to be in this room, right? Okay, good. That could very well be, by the way, because within this community are some of the best stories of innovation and transformation that we have. In the IBM customer stories page, we have a little over 90 different customer client innovation stories. We got 3 really good ones here from among the ARCAD customer set, doing transformation, doing DevOps as a service, doing all the kinds of things that ARCAD's suite of products bring to you. But while we have these 3 great stories, there are more of them in the room. We are going to hopefully help some of you do that with Merlin, but if you're doing it with ARCAD products, that's great by us too, because you're innovating and modernizing on IBM I, which drives the health of the future of this platform. If you want to tell your story, talk to your ARCAD folks or talk to us, because every one of these stories, and we will definitely add Orange as soon as you allow us to, every time we get a story like this, it helps us reach 5 or 10 or 20 other companies that share some similarity with you, and we can say, oh, you need to do Transformer? Well, here's a story of a customer who did Transformer. Oh, you're in the telecommunications industry? Hey, here's a big player in the telecommunications industry that did that same sort of thing. Okay, so honestly and truly, I've talked to a couple of you already. You have good stories. If you're willing to spend a half an hour with us, we'd love to tell that story, because that's how we encourage more people to get off the do nothing and into the modernize. All of us together, cooperating as we can, will move this product forward into the future. I really appreciate the privilege of your time, and I'm done talking now so we can take a break.